Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome once again to the Shabbat review lesson or class that's been conducted by Prince Zurishaddai, Nasik Zurishaddai ben Yehudah, and myself for these several months. It's mainly a review of the previous week's Sidra or Parasha, and Nasik Zurishaddai is, taking time out of his schedule to be able to bring forth and highlight some points that might have been looked over or because of time might not have been explained. So he always goes over the previous week, giving glory to the creator of heaven and earth, Yehudah, the God of the universe, the God who created it all and created us all. And we thank him for our lives on this day. And I pray that the creator of heaven and earth continue to be with us and guide us. Nasik, how are you today?
Great, Baruch Hashem. Great.
Hallelujah. So we're going to proceed and move right ahead because there's about 5 chapters that we have to cover today. So Nasik, it's on you.
Okay, first of all, I give praises to the Supreme Eternal Universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and due respect to the D.C.B. Congregation, Chief Ministerial, and also the Chief Rules who's hosting this, and all the other chief men, Prince Chief brothers, sisters, Maureen, and Kohanim out there that be listening to some of the words. I greet you all in the time of forefather. Shalom Aleichem and early Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem.
This particular week, this Sidra, Wayera, is very interesting. There's a lot of impact going on, focuses on Abraham after this circumcision, after you come into the covenant. And what's interesting, just coming out the gate, just saying, that's this first time you actually read about in a particular portion, or anywhere that I can think of off the top of my head, that the creator appeared, but there's no message given at the appearance right there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we know, if we take any chronological order in this particular portion, we would say this is directly right behind the covenant, when Abraham had circumcised. So we can't beyond a doubt, say, it's exactly that way, because sometimes scriptures may not be in a chronological order, or sometimes, as we're going to see within this particular Sidra, it be a great many years have passed between one chapter and the next chapter, or one verse and the next verse. So we're going to pick it up here since there's quite a bit that was going on in this particular portion. Now, we know that in this particular portion here, we're going to start with a couple of verses in the beginning, just to read a few things in the beginning. Before we go there, I'd like to just highlight some of the things that's in there, just in case I don't cover some things.
Okay.
And for those that have a regular King James Version scripture, may not have a Masoretic text, or may not be able to know where a Sidra may begins or ends at, it's for the 18th chapter, first verse, going to the 22nd chapter, 24th verse. I'll be perusing through here and there, so I'm not going to touch on every spot. I'm just going to highlight some things, since it was already spoken on by several different great teachers last week. So I'm going to try to highlight some different points in this particular, as a review for those that are already there, and it'd be new information for those that maybe had never read this portion before. Abraham greets 3 strangers and showed hospitality. Abraham prays for Sodom, but that's one of the unsuccessful prayers. Lot is saved, but his wife turned to a pillar of salt. The alliance between Abraham and Abimelech. Isaac, Yitzchak is born, and at Sarah's voice, Abraham sends away Ishmael, and Abraham is tested by the Creator. So those are made pretty much, because that sums up what's going on in this particular portion. So I'm just going to go from the 18th chapter.
Chapter 18.
First verse. Yes, 18, top of the chapter. Just a couple verses. No, I said.
Genesis chapter 18, verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And Yehovah appeared unto him by the terebinths of Mamre, as he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood over against him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed down to the earth and said, My Lord.
Okay. All right, hold it right there. Just remember, we had third verse. All right. First of all, it's a lot of interesting things going on. Like I said in the beginning, that the Creator appeared. There's no message. And Abraham sitting He's not standing at this time. He's sitting while the Creator appeared. But yet, all of a sudden, and it talk about, that in the heat of the day, he lifted up his eyes and looked, and 3 men stood over against him. All right. Now, what's interesting, what we might miss is if they're standing there, why he got to run after them. That's a unique thing. Because if you look up and they're there, and he's sitting in the presence of the Creator when the Creator appeared before him, then how is it that he just jumps up all of a sudden and meet the guys that was actually standing there? So that let you know, give you a hint already that this must be some divine source. Because how far do I have to run if you're standing there? And then the heat of the day, that's the hottest part of the day. Normally, most people find shelter before that part of the day if they travel in the desert and stuff like that. And usually some people that's usually lost if they're in an arid land. And that's why I mentioned about the heat of the day. And the Creator appeared in a spot that's comfortable for Abraham to see, and also why he's also in a comfortable spot within the tent door, within the door of his tent, and he's sitting. So sometimes, it brings about the question that people ask sometimes. If I'm praying to the Creator, can I interrupt my prayer to assist somebody? And some people will say, I don't want to be disturbed right now.
Right.
Creator's right here. For Abraham, in this very case right here, and the presence of the Creator that appears unto him, and it said it appeared to him.
Right.
So that means he knows the Creator's there. But yet he goes from the attention of the Creator right there to tender guest. So where some people say, don't bother me while I'm praying.
Right.
So it's just something to think about as we go through different episodes in here. Now we go from the third verse just a little bit.
Verse 3 in the same chapter, Genesis 18. And said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee from thy servant. Let now a little water be fetched, and wash your feet, and recline yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and stay ye your heart. After that ye shall pass on, for as much as ye are come to your servant. And they said, So do as thou hast said. And Abraham.
Right. Now, but what I want to just bring out right there, just a little bit, is that one, if somebody traveling during that time of day, most times they're in a hurry.
Right.
It's a desperate move. They're on a serious mission. And Abraham just offer him some of the basics. But as we know, he offers more. So we're going to, I'm just give a short
synopsis.
Speak on that. He offers more, but he offered to wash their feet and everything like that, and it's from what I had learned, that most of the nerves in the human body is down by the feet, and so it's also that if for travelers, especially nomadic travelers, it'd be a comfort. Of course, water is very precious. And for example, wash somebody's feet and hands and tell them to recline and have a morsel to eat, and refresh themselves. Especially at your expense. If you're recuperating, if we say this chronologically, right after the circumcision. in the covenant of the circumcision. So now it shows also a particular character. They just said, do as you said. So we know that he brought, he told Sarah, to need 3 measures, and said, why 3 measures? A fine meal, a fine flour. Got 3 guests there. Everybody get an equal portion. The 3 measures there. Also, you have a kid, done up real quick, and it has some, milk and cur, whatever, slake their thirst and ease. But one of the things that I like to bring out as we go on a little bit fast forward is that he's tell Abraham and them, they asked for one of the servants asked about the lady of the house. Now, some people might think this shows that they're angel because they asked for the lady of the house by name. But we read from Lekah that Abraham going to be famous. He can be known,
right,
as a nomad, no matter where he go. So them knowing the name of his wife, knowing him by name as well, and his name has just been changed, it's not a great phenomenon, because the Creator already promised that, that would happen, at that time. Now, we could say, if it's right after the Brit Milah, at the time when his name was changed, he said, okay, then that could be phenomenal that he pronounced the name correctly, Sarah instead of Sarai. So that could be another area where you could, explore, because only then was her name changed. When Abraham was getting ready to go into the covenant, and Abraham's name was changed. When at that time when they went to the Brit Milah. So now, when we go even further into the thing, we noticed Sarah had supposed to have laughed in this situation when she heard that she gonna have a child, and sometimes she made a statement, I'm going, who is old, going to have a child, and my Lord is also old. Talking about Abraham in a nutshell. Those that read the scripture can read the technical points. I'm just trying to fast forward a little bit. But what's interesting is that Abraham is the first one, and they're actually the first one we call an old man, Zaquin. That's the first time the term is used. They have a big story about this. I'm just going to run this by. This a story, not saying necessarily that no more ability than I would say you find it here in the scripture, here you find this here in the scripture, you find this here in the scripture.
Right.
But the reason, because the first time you read about an old man is with Abraham, that word is Zaquin. And one of the things they say traditionally, when I say sages, rabbi, commentators that study scriptures would say that before this time, you couldn't tell the difference between an older individual or a younger individual. Young blood and old blood, couldn't tell the difference, because there was no sign of aging, though a person would age, and chronologically, but that's it. So that leaves a little hint about Sarah's beauty too as well, and so they say, now this is just a midrash. Not, when I say midrash, like, maybe legends and commentaries on it. That Abraham requested, how can you tell the difference between a young man and an old man, since we all look the same? So he's the first one supposed to have a silver beard, silver hair, hence the word Zaquin, and Sarah herself. With Yitzchak, it's been another issue. How do a man, go through life without any kind of major physical pain under normal conditions, without being actually cursed directly by the Creator, and knowing that he's getting close to the time he's going to die? So Yitzchak is the first one that actually had poor eyesight. That's the first time you read that in scripture, where a guy actually develops poor eyesight as he grows older. With Yaakov, he's the first one you read about that actually, the first sick person in scriptures you read about is him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that says he got ill, he got sick. You know, being cursed for certain things, being plagued with some things is a difference. A person doesn't naturally go sick, you know. So those are, you know, things that, you know, that's unique about each one of those three patriarchs. Abraham's first one you read about getting old, and Yitzchak's first one we talk about eyes are dim, and Yaakov is the first one they read about in scriptures that actually got ill, you know, in scriptures. But anyway, to go further, when Sarah made her statement, you know, it was reported back to Abraham only the part that she said, you know, concerning herself. So, you know, sometimes you would leave certain things out because it might cause a problem in the domestic problem. So here's an example where the angel, you know, said what Sarah said and left out the part what she said about Abraham as well, for the sake of peace. And so, and then also, and when she left within herself, you know, the word is similar to the word stomach, you know, and they play on that word because the word itself, as you age, your stomach time again, little changes different. All of the brothers know we got to work on that little spot, you know, you know, and women's, you know, got to work on that spot. The stomach is different, you know, the breast is no longer, you know, all firm, you know, and up like it was, you know, for females, you know, tend to be a little bit more dry. And she looking at her, thinking about her condition, and said, that don't seem normal. That don't seem possible at this time. But when she laughed within herself. So anyway, we noticed that they ate, and it was on their way in this particular 18th chapter. Before we get to that, we're going to jump down to the 16th verse. But before we go even further, and I'd like to bring out this point too as well, is that when at the meal, and they have about all this thing about, you know, some Israelite brothers as well as, you know, mainstream Judaism don't eat meat and dairy together. And there's one of the things, so they say, well, what kind of Torah law to keep it if they eat meat and dairy together? Even by the strictest rabbinic rule, if you ate dairy first, which they said they ate, and they gave you the order what they ate, you know, in this particular chapter, you can eat basar, meat, behind it. If you ate the meat first, it'd be a problem. But this is also before the law was given at Mount Sinai as well. And this is according to rabbinic interpretation, not according to Torah interpretation, you know, as far as, you know, directly written in the book like that. It's a rabbinic ruling that they come up with. I'm just bringing this out because some brothers and, you know, sisters hold by that from different Israelite congregations. And one of the things that I like to also bring out is that the cakes, the bread never made it to the table. So, and it's always a comment of considering, well, you found what the meal was, but what happened to those 3 measures of cakes that Abraham told Sarah to make at this particular time? And it's to bring out a point that the Creator worked just that fast when you least expected that she became Nida. You know, she started to go through the manner of women at that time. And we know us brothers that hold through, when a woman get in that condition, you know, she don't need to cook. You know, you give her a little break and give her some space. You know, you can hang out over there. I hang out over here. All right, so I got to learn how to cook a little bit or be a microwave master, something like that. But this is what the difference is when you get to, when you look at the meal that's given here. So now, when 16th verse, we're going to go straight on down. It said, the man rose up.
Verse 16 reads of the same chapter, chapter 18, it reads, and the men rose up from thence and looked out towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And Yehudah said, shall I hide from Abraham that which I am doing? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I have known him to the end that he may command his children, that his household after him, that they may keep the way of Yehudah, to do righteousness and justice, to the end that Yehudah may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him.
All right, hold right there. Now, one of the things that, talk about, all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. When you guys see the Abraham in your territory, you shouldn't be doing too bad, especially if they're serving this creator, in that sense. But one of the things, this thing come up, where it says, when they look towards Sodom, and Abraham walked a partial part way with them. Normally, when you have guests at your house, it's only a natural courtesy to see them at least to the door if you can't go no further. Some people say, let a person get up, I'm on my way out. All right, okay, I'll catch you later. And sit where they at. Don't get up.
Right.
Welcome to at least welcome to the door. You might say, okay, I got my slippers on, I got my robe on, anything like that there, and right. It might be snowing, be real hard or raining real hard. So I can't walk you to your car, I can't walk you down the block to the bus stop, can't walk you to the train station, wherever it is. But in the East, and also common courtesy, you must walk a person a certain amount of distance when you're getting to leave your presence. So, I just say at least escort an individual that comes to your house, unless you can't get up at all, to the door. That's why Abraham escorted them on their way here. And we picked that up. So if we think about the hospitality of always preparing a meal, but part of that hospitality don't end with just feeding an individual, but also escorting an individual part the way to his journey. That shows support for that individual. So, this is, some things we can pick up, from the hospitality of Abraham, and how to treat visitors that come into our presence. Because in a society like this today, it's lacking pretty much amongst a lot of, communities and everything like that. And that's the godly approach, that we're supposed to exhibit, especially as being, the offspring of Abraham. And that's why we say Abraham Abinu, Abraham our father. We're gonna go a little bit further down here, and it says 20th verse.
Verse 20 reads, and Yehudah said, verily the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and verily their sin is exceeding grievous. I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me. And if not, I will know. And the men turned from thence and went towards Sodom. But Abraham stood yet before Yehudah.
Okay, hold right there. All right. There's always a controversy about, the creator appeared, but yet it was created one of the angels that's there. That's a three. Or was it three and was it just three different individuals? And I just bring that out because I know both sides of the argument in reference to that, but I'm not going, I know about it, I'm aware of those things, but I'm not going to speak on that now because that's not the point I want to raise right now, as I highlight. But it is a controversy about whether it's just three individual angels and the creator over here, or it's two angels and the creator is one of the angels, so that's, that's it. Those are some things that, I like to just point out in my passing. But it says that, the creator knows everything, the beginning of a thing before it exists. And if the creator knows the beginning of a thing before it exists, and what it says that verily, the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, you know, and verily is their sin is exceeding grievous. I will go down and see, you know, whether they have done altogether according to the cry. You know, now the Creator know when people exaggerate. We know when our kids exaggerate.
Right.
You know, sometimes you tell them, "You come over here." They start crying for you get the lashing.
Right.
You know, they tune up with the cry.
Right.
Before they even get the first marker, the first beat down. You know, so you know, but the Creator knows everything.
Right.
So he's talking, you know, he's talking to Abraham to invite conversation, and not only invite conversation, you know, for part of his development as well. You know,
Right.
and so the thing is that, but what he already let Abraham know, I'm going to look at it. Now, this is the God of the universe. What do he need to look that he can't see from up there or wherever he's at?
Right.
Knowing anything before it exists.
Right.
It's to teach us. Hearsay is not enough. It means to go out there and take a look, investigate. You know, that's why, you know, there's two things to talk about pursuing the scriptures. One is righteousness, you know, sedek, tirodo. Most people, sometimes you might find, well, you guys will say justice, but
Right.
you know, but it means to pursue righteousness, and also tirodo, shalom, pursue peace. You know, and that's what you look for. You pursue those two items. You know, one is in the Psalms and one is in Deuteronomy. So the thing is that the Creator, in order to be a witness, you got to be an eyewitness. And you got, you know, and so the Creator let them know that, Abraham know that I just don't move without some kind of scales and balance of righteousness and judgment that you can understand.
Right.
Dealing with you. Because we got, a lot of times I always, when I get into debate with guys, I always usually ask, you know, when we get into these different debates, all right, what book are you going to use? What is your concept? Because if you got a completely different concept and ideology than I got, then we can never really debate until we come on common ground and agree that the measuring standard we're going to use.
Right.
Right? We got to have it within this measuring standard because you agree that this is what you stand by, and I agree this is what I stand by, and what we both stand by tend to be in the same measurement.
Right.
And from there, we can begin to talk. So the thing is that to be an eyewitness, you know, that's what the Creator, you know, that we just got to be an eyewitness to be a witness. A witness ain't just what I heard. You know, some places in the Torah, we talk about if you hear this voice of swearing and stuff like that there.
Right.
You heard that. All right. You heard a voice.
But you also witness it.
Yeah. But you know, those things are brought out. But anyway, let's talk about Sodom and Gomorrah. But it's just only mentioned these two cities. Why? Because these are two major cities. You know, and these are two major factors out of the 5 cities of the plain. It don't even mention, you know, Atnod, Zebon, and Zur. All right. And what this says from here?
What, pick it up? You want me to pick it up?
Yes. Yes.
We are in verse 23. And Abraham drew near and said, "Wilt thou indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Peradventure there are 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou indeed sweep away and not forgive the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked. That so the righteous should be as the wicked, that be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do justly?"
All right, that's why I wanted to stop right there. That's all I wanted to do, just go to that point there. That's a lot of guts to tell the Creator that. You know, you're talking to the Creator of heaven and earth. You know, who don't is that Bill centuries later said, he's not a man that he should lie, nor the son of man that he shall repent. Because he could have thought the world into existence, but he spoke it into existence. He spoke things into creation, but he could just thought it. And that was it. You know, so for you to, as a man, a human being, to charge the creator and caution the creator, don't act outside of the rules of justice, that is phenomenal.
Right.
Because even in mythology that I could think of, and I used to, you know, when I come up, you know, in the schools when, you know, when we was real young, all us older guys, that they used to give you Greek mythology, Roman mythology, regular once a week in school. You know, like they had religious instruction, you had those kind of mythology classes in school. And even then, you didn't tell the so-called gods in their mythology that you ain't right. You try to plead, you try to trick them, you try to bribe them, but you never said they wasn't right. Now here Abraham will say the creator's not right. I guess that's where we got that from. You know, said far be it. You know, for the judge and whole earth to do good and justice. He said, no, that's not your character. That's not you. because there's some righteous folks there. And that is so strong of a statement that if you're going to hold God to that standard, remember I said that I usually debate people that usually we have a same and measuring stick.
Right.
We come to agreement. Well, I just lead on to the next portion later on within this. You're going to be held to that same type of thing. You know, because a judge is supposed to judge righteously.
Right.
All the time.
All the time.
You know, not sometimes, all the time. You know, not 99. So now there's a charge and he asked for 50. You know, and as we know the story, as we know the story already, you know, that, you know, if it was 50 people and you're talking about 5 cities, that's only two person per city. 2 persons per city. I mean, 10 people, 10 per city. I got down, I went too far down. All right, if it's 50 and it's 5 cities, there's only 10 people per city. You know, then went down to 45, you know, I mean, basically 9. Then he went down to 40, you know, that's 8. Then he went down to 20, you know, I mean, you know what I mean? And then he went down to, you know, the last one number he went to was 10. And I hinted on it when I was speaking about Noah, you know, and comparing Abraham and Noah before in one of my talks. And the thing is that Abraham stopped at 10. Now, 10 out of 5 cities is 2 people per city.
Right.
At least 2 persons per city.
Right.
Out of 5 cities of the plane. But he stopped at 10. Noah had a whole world, and only 8 got on the boat. Only 8 people got on the ark. And then say all 8 of them was righteous.
Right. And
that's why I always, you know, have this little thing about when they try to say Noah wasn't good enough. It wouldn't have been as good in Abraham's time as he was in his own time, you know, because he didn't try to plead or pray for somebody. Right? But as we know, Noah had 120 years for a good while with the family. And if anybody could have been saved, worth saving, it would have been saved by Noah.
Right, right.
Because it talks about his character.
Right.
Abraham, in this case, and Noah's still living in Abraham's time, you know, at one time. So Abraham got a chance to meet Noah, you know, we do the math. Right. So Abraham stops at 10 people. And knowing that if it's 10 righteous individuals, Noah's the only righteous individual. Right. You know, and it's out the bunch that I mentioned about. So when he left off speaking from there, That was it. So I let you know that if you can't find 10 people in 5 cities that's living righteous, then that city definitely is wicked. But what's even more, I like to bring out, Abraham just rescued them people. You know, so I like to bring this point out too, this other viewpoint, that he heard Lot was captured.
Right.
So he wound up killing all those people, the 4 kings that whipped up the 5 kings and took up the people over there, just to go rescue Lot with a couple of Confederates. And when he comes back, and the king said, "Look here, keep the gold and give me the people."
Right.
Do Abraham feel responsible for those people? Now, mind you, those people rebelled against the 4 kings whose family related to Abraham, because they're Shemites.
Right.
And Sodom and Gomorrah are Hamites. So the people of Sodom and Gomorrah are Hamites. And the ones that Abraham went to beat down is people from his family.
His own family.
On that side of the Euphrates. Them Syrians. So he whipped down family and killed family to save one member of a family from on that side. And brought back a Hamitic people that turned out to be so wicked. And yet, also, when the people say, and they leave this one little thing out, you know, that all prayers are not successful. Abraham's prayer wasn't successful to save those people. So you can pray for somebody so hard, so strong, and be on the level of Abraham, and your prayer will not help save them. They be going beyond your prayer. So this is a good example of that, when some people will wind up being too far gone where your prayers, or no amount of prayer, you know, from anybody could save them. So that should be one lesson, you know, we pick up in this particular story. So we're going to go into the 19th chapter.
Chapter 19?
Yes.
We're going to the
beginning, first verse.
Give me 1 second here. Nasik. I got it. Because I'm sharing the screen, so I just want to make sure.
Okay. Well, I get 31st of the 18th. I go into 31st, so I want to just bring this out too on the way out. All right, this is the last verse of 18. Verse 33. It said, and the Lord went his way as soon as he had left off speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place. I think that's a PowerPoint there to bring out. The Creator let him say all he gonna say in that matter. And after the Creator let him say all he gonna say in that matter, then the Creator left.
Right.
It sounds like Moshe on the mountain said, y'all thought I was a little late. Y'all thought I was messing around up there. But I left when the Creator finished speaking. Here, the Creator let Abraham speak. When Abraham spoke for the final time, then the Creator said, okay, no more need be said. You know, I think that's important. Sometimes the Creator will hear you out, even in an unsuccessful prayer.
Right.
He'll hear you all the way through. All right, 19th verse. I mean, 19th
chapter.
Chapter
19. We're in the book of Genesis, chapter 19, starting from verse 1. Hallelujah. It reads, and the 2 angels came to Sodom at even, and Lot sat at the gate of Sodom. And Lot saw them and rose up to meet them, and he fell down on his face to the earth. And he said, behold now, my lords, turn aside, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early, and go on your way. And they said, nay, but we will abide in the broad place all night. And he urged them greatly, and they turned in unto him, and entered into his house, and he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I just want to bring out that he shows some hospitality there. And actually, this is the first time you read about the term matzahs that everybody talk about on Pesach.
Right.
That's done fast. Now, some commentaries said this around the same, when Pesach will come in, but it's no, basically the real reason. So, that's why I'd say, I always tell people, when you read commentaries and read, midrashim or, different, excerpts concerning scriptures, if it's something, you look at it, because they are human beings that thought things out, look things over. But it don't always have to end with them. That's why Solomon said there's no ending to the writing or reading of books. Because somebody gonna always have another page, another chapter to add to the book of insight, looking at it from a different perspective, going deeper into it. Usually, most answers come when we refuse to think about the question any further. That's when most answers come. But so when you look at the commentators, they would tell you about Pesach, but I just point out that we don't know what time it was, what season it was. We just know that unleavened bread is quick, fast. It's something you can do in a hurry.
Right.
And the term mishto. Mishto is and they use that in talk, as sometimes referred to as a feast, but it's actually a drinking feast. Basically, when you talk about mishto, it's like a mishteh. When you talk about that as a feast, it actually means something like wine and bread.
Okay.
All right. What did Melchizedek brought to Abraham? Wine and bread.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he brought to him after the battle of the 4 kings, when he rescued Lot. So this is basically the same thing Melchizedek brought to them. That's what Lot offering these guys. But he had to get them off the street right away. Get them inside right away. And they came to Abraham in the daytime, in the heat of the day. But when they got to Sodom, it's nighttime.
Right.
And Abraham ran to catch these guys. Lot rose up to walk the gate and invite them. Because why? You can't see too good in the night. You're no friend or foe.
Right.
And they gonna lay in the street. So, but in a broad place, so it's like a major boulevard. All right. So now we goes in and we tell them to bring in, and in the 4th verse.
I'm going to continue the 4th verse. It reads, "But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both young and old, all the peoples from every quarter. And they called unto Lot and said unto him, Where are the men that came in to thee this night? Bring them out unto us that we may know them. And Lot went out unto them to the door and shut the door after him. And he said, I pray you, my brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold, now I have 2 daughters that have not known men. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as it is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for as much as they are come under the shadow of my roof. And they said, Stand back."
Okay, right. We can stop right there at 9. We'll stop at 9. Normally, when somebody come in your house, they're supposed to be safe. You're supposed to be their guardian and safety net.
Right.
And normally in the East, they have a thing where if a traveler comes by, they used to be, I don't know about now, but that used to be a tradition I read about, from history books. And then other people that aim when they entertain you, because you might belong to an enemy family.
Mm.
So therefore, when they give you hospitality, come in, they offer you hospitality, your name is not important, because if you're a rival, we might have a blood feud, something that need to go down. So my hospitality could be genuine, because I don't know whether you're friend or foe, but I'm treating you friendly. And doing it that way can sometimes alleviate hostility between people. If you had that in that kind of mindset. Lot don't know these guys. But you notice that with Abraham, they was called men. And Lot time it's called angels. And sometimes they say, well, why is they called men with Abraham and angels when it comes to Lot? You know, one answer that's put forth, you know, and I say it like that. One answer that's put forth is that Abraham is used to having divine relationships, but not Lot in that sense. So as you get to Lot, you know, they're referred to as angels in a sense, you know, which is a little different. All right, and it goes, let me just skip on down just a little bit. All right, first of all, Lot knew what they meant when they talked about, you know, get to know these guys. And he said, do not such wickedly. And he offered his daughters, and we know the story as he offered his daughters and stuff like that. We know already that after this point that they didn't want the daughters, they want the men. Lot went out to try to, you know, I mean, deal with them. They said from young and old, just men, young and old. I mean, this is a traditional thing they had going on,
right,
in the area, and they want, you know, I mean, abuse these individuals.
right.
So when people say that being a homosexual, you know, the guys is born with, you know, I mean, born like that. He felt like he was a girl all his life. He felt like this and he felt like that, and he can't help it because he got you know, I mean, a
Genetically.
born thing, you know, and if that's the case, the creator would have a death penalty for something that he, you know, the guy had no say so on. Right. I'll just leave it with that. That, you know, if it's something that you're born with that you had no control on,
right,
then it should not be a death penalty because you had no say so on that. But when you have a conscious choice, you can have an urge to steal, an urge to kill, you know, an urge to do a lot of stuff, but a conscious choice, you know, you got to say, well, is it right or wrong?
right.
See, one of the things about being an image of the creator is that all our passions, all our emotions, we can suppress or we can promote. Every emotion we can either suppress or we can promote.
Right.
Animals don't have it. You know, man has that. Right? Angels don't have that. Men have that. That's a divine thing that we have. That's one of the images we talk about. So we know automatically they didn't want the daughters. They have no men, and they wind up striking the place with men with blindness. But with the word they use in Hebrew meant more like a dazzling light. You know, we get you know, and at night when you have a blinding light, you know, hitting your eyes and stuff like that, you get a little glimpse of a situation like that when the exodus from Egypt, when we got close to the Yam Su, and the Egyptians were right up on us, and it said, the Lord came between us and the Egyptian with a pillar of fire, you know what I mean, between both of them, between that where nobody passed by could see each other all night long, but they close.
Right.
So the Egyptians didn't come over to the Israelites didn't go over to the Egyptians because it was a pillar of fire. And after the you know what I mean, they went through into the Yam Su, that's when that pillar left. When the Egyptians could move forward. But it's that all through the night they couldn't see each other. So that, you know, that blinding light, not that they got blind where they couldn't see period again in life, you know, is they weary themselves to find a door. That means that you still have some vision for door. So and the word reflects like a blinding light. That's the word that's pretty much used, you know, even for those who want to research it, so to speak. But anyway, when the angels wind up, so Lot wanted to save the angels wind up saving Lot. you know, pull them in, you know, and you know, now I like to also bring out another thing. Lot was sitting in the gate. He went to Sodom as a shepherd. When he was captured, oh, you were somebody. You got a powerful uncle. Well, we can't look at you as a shepherd no more. So no, he no longer, you know what I mean, a herdsman. He's an aristocrat now.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he got that promotion pretty much after Abraham come and rescued him. So oh, you got family in high places here.
Right.
So now, because we know when he left to go to Sodom, he left there because it was well watered, and he left there to go be a herdsman there, being nomadic. But after the battle of the 4 kings, you know, and Abraham brought the people back, now he's somebody. He's an aristocrat. He moved into Sodom society now. I got powerful people over here, you know. Right. So he ain't no longer living in the field. He living in the house, right, in a city. So I mean, just throw those things out, you know, as we, you know, going through this, you know. Some promotions is not really a promotion, you know. Then I like to bring out this one another point too. When it says, "Hast thou any besides son-in-law, and thy sons and thy daughters, whomsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of the place, for we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxed great before the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it." All right. Now we know automatically that well, let's open it here. All right. We know automatically that Lot has sons.
Right.
Because it's mentioned it, but we don't know who the sons were. But they evidently it wasn't worth saving. All right. You know, he had son-in-laws. It wasn't worth saving. There's always a question how many daughters he had. There's always that question comes up all the time. Whether he had 2 daughters or whether he had more than 2. All right. There's always that question, because a son-in-law could be your son-in-law because you got a betrothal with you, which is like a marriage, but you didn't take the daughter.
Right.
So now you have a wife that's promised to you, but you didn't pick up yet. And the lifestyle of Sodom is almost like it's perpetuated amongst the Greeks and amongst the Romans, that women was only for procreation, men was for fun. You know, so they really didn't care much about women. They like to have fun with their men. So hence they had a lot of homosexuality amongst some cultures like that, amongst the Roman culture, amongst the Greek culture, and amongst some, you know, in this case with Sodom and Gomorrah. So now they got a wife, but they didn't pick up. So that's why it's always, they say in the debate, how many daughters he had. Well, we can't say a number, even if you say he has son-in-laws, because it could have been 5 son-in-laws, 3 son-in-laws, 2 son-in-laws. So we never know. If these are daughters here, because a person say that they never know men, don't mean they're not married. You know, because Rivka, once she was given to go with the guy, that was Isaac's wife.
Right.
From there, betrothal. You know, so that became a wife early. They couldn't go to nobody else. So right. So the thing is that, you know, that I just throw this out there to let people know, because that's an unresolved, you know, I mean, argument in that area. Well, you know, whether you say, you know, 2 daughters wind up leaving with him. That's what we can guarantee. And no, only 2 left with him. Whether right. he had more than 2, you know, is another question. Simply because they say son-in-laws, and then they say how many. You know, now we know he has sons, because the angels talk about sons. Right? And then the question is, why you go to your son-in-laws and not your sons?
Right.
You know, it seems like if I'm gonna go to anybody first, I'm gonna get my sons, try to get my sons on board.
Right.
And then some people say, well, he didn't go because, I mean, it might didn't have any. You know, it makes sense to ask a question, you know, from a divine being, without some kind of relativity to it. So I just brought those things out there. So we know automatically now, it said, and when the morning, 15th verse,
Verse 15, it reads.
Yeah, 19th chapter.
19th chapter. And when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters that are here, lest thou be swept away in the iniquity of the city. But he lingered, and the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, and Jehovah being merciful unto him. And they brought him forth and set him without the city. And it came.
Keep going.
And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, Escape for thy life, look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all the plain, escape to the mountain, lest thou be swept away. And Lot said unto them, Oh, not so, my Lord. Behold now, thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast shown unto me in saving my life. And I cannot...
I got to read that verse there again, 18th verse. And I said unto them, Oh, not so, my Lord. And then the 19th verse, Behold, now thy servant hath found favor in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, and hast shown unto me in saving my life, and I cannot escape to the mountains, lest evil will take me and I die. So in other words, he know that I got a trump card I could play right now. Said, no, it ain't so. I mean, you did this much for me while I was hanging around. I was trying to decide where I'm gonna go.
Right.
I'm gonna start over. I'm leaving everything I got behind. You know, you grabbing me up, my wife up, my 2 daughters up, and places outside the city. Quick, fast, in a hurry. I don't know how fast they made it, but faster than he could run.
Right.
Not being the angelic beings. And tell me to go to the mountains, you know, and he said, look here, fast he took me out this city. I know I can't move that much faster. There's a little city there, not too far. There's a little one, you know,
right.
and what else did the angels hinted at? They hinted at, I can't do nothing till you leave. So now he said, I'm the one that's holding up things. I can slow this process down now. So let me go over this little city over here instead of to the mountains.
Right.
Because I found grace in your sight. And you had magnified, in other words, increased the mercy now, because now you let me know I got a little juice.
Right.
Some people, you know, run things a little bit too far. You know, stretch it out just a little bit. But we know automatically, you know, I mean, later on, I just want to bring this last little point out in this chapter here. Well, better, let me see. Where was that? Okay, at 21.
Verse 21.
And it says, at 21st verse, it says, and he said unto him, See, I have accepted thee concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow the city of which thou hast spoken. Hasten thou, escape thither, for I cannot do anything till thou be come thither. In other words, I can't do nothing until you get there.
Right.
All right. So, but I want, because a lot of times, sometimes we miss this next point. Therefore, the name of the city was called Zor. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot came unto Zor. Then the Lord caused to rain upon
Sodom and upon Gomorrah, brimstone and fire from Yehovah out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities, and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he had stood before Yehovah. And he looked out toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the land went up as the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass that when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham, and he sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt.
Okay, hold right there. All right. It's an important point. Now I want to focus on Lot. You know, I'm going to focus on Lot just for a little bit. And the character. All right. Now we read a little bit and learn a little bit about Abraham's character. And we know these human beings, they're not superficial beings. Because if they're superficial, we could never emulate any of them. Right? And some beings is way difficult to emulate for everybody. Well, Abraham is a being that everybody can't emulate. So let's focus on Lot's character. All right. We read already that he's about making the bucks. We read already that he seemed look for a little opportunist, but he also learned some things about hospitality. We read already too that when Abraham went to Egypt, Lot kept quiet. He could have said, "Look here, hey, that's that man's wife. I ought to know. We're family." He kept quiet on that. He held his peace.
Right.
When he went down there. But that's a good character, So it could be a lot of times we think about God remember Abraham's character in saving Lot, but also Lot's character by keeping quiet about the situation about Sarai, which Abraham felt is the beginning issue, right? But then now let's look at another area. He found grace in his sight and mercy magnified at this time. Why would the Creator listen to a person that has a selfish prayer? Because Lot is talking about Zohar for himself. I'm looking to get there for myself. Abraham prayed for some people already, but whatever it is, he did what he did. I'm looking out for me now. And you already told me that you couldn't do nothing until I leave. So I'm really desperate. I'm real desperate right now. Could I at least go there? So the Creator listened a lot in the sense that we read in the Psalms, I think it's around 51st Psalm, when David said, "A broken heart and a contrite spirit thou will not despise." Lot was still within the overthrow and yet surviving. That's why I say, the Creator brought destroyed the cities, all the cities that Lot brought him and brought him from the midst, and said from the midst of the overthrow, from the midst of all this drama. So the thing is that even a selfish prayer, when a person goes deep down in their soul, right, when the depths of their heart, even it's just strictly for them, the Creator gives kindness to it, where David said, "A broken heart and a contrite spirit thou will not despise." So therefore the Creator, even Lot, kept a little bit of people alive because he's crying out for the depth of the soul right now at the spot as the Zohar. Because we know Zohar was, after he left, it said after all these places where he dwelt, it was destroyed completely. So he feared to dwell in Zohar because of the overthrow. And that means it's like you seeing a fire coming closer, tearing up these buildings, tearing up this building, tearing up this building, tearing up this building. He said, it ain't much time now for the storm come over this way.
Right.
So he left. But it held up right away, where Sodom and Gomorrah, the major cities, got bombarded right away. Bam. And that's why the angels told him, "Yeah, we heard you concerning this city. But we know," and read about it more in Deuteronomy, that that city also was destroyed in the 5 cities of the plain. So sometimes a righteous individual, sometimes when you lose certain individuals and you lose certain people in your congregation, people that's really, for the movement of your congregation. When you lose that and you have people that's really, trying to build and structure and believe in the Most High, when a person like that leave, it's only a matter of time for the walls start caving in. It's only a matter of time. And so, and that's why I said a wise man and sometimes a righteous person could save a city. Lot wasn't so righteous. He had some good characters. He had some good, you know, but he wasn't so righteous. You know, he earned a few merits, and that's the difference. A lot of times we figure the merits we earn with the Creator, and like I said, the iniquity of the Amorites are not yet fulfilled. That don't mean they're so righteous. It's just that they ain't reached that limit. But let's go into the. We already know that in the mountains. I just want to highlight that. We're going to the 20th chapter. In the mountains, you know, they fled to the mountains where they're supposed to be. There's always a question. We're not going to read the rest of the 19.
All right. So
all right.
Verse.
All right. But they went into the mountains where they're supposed to be. I mean, where they're supposed to be in the first place. They wound up going there anyway. And we noticed that things went down with the, you know, with the daughters. They thought the whole earth was destroyed. And, you know, there was wine in the cave. And people always say, well, where did wine come from? Did they grab a bottle from Zorn, you know, and took it up there? But anybody that know that, and you're trying to age wine, it must be in a dark, cold spot. So people will store wine in a dark, cold spot. You know,
Makes sense.
and you know, that's why you have wine cellars. And usually good wine have dark bottles. So now,
so there probably was wine in there already.
Thank you, brother. Thank you very much, man. I mean, you can steal a little bit. You can steal a little bit of my thunder. You can steal a little bit of my thunder. I'm pulling with you.
Torah.
All right. So that's what people will store wine in the caves to age it and preserve it, because sunlight destroys wine and give it a lot of bacteria and they get a different taste. So you have the dark. So that if you got a steady temperature, a cool temperature, and a dark spot, wine ages better. So people will store their wines and stuff like that, especially if they're making a nice batch, and try to age it in a spot which caves are usually cool. All right, and it's usually dark, not very little light. So when they went in the cave, it was that, and it seemed like the Creator had it set up for them pretty much, because you know wine is for those that are heavy heart. You know what I mean? A sorrow.
That's right.
He just seen a lot of destruction. Lost his wife. Lost lost sons. You know,
well,
possibly laws. You know, so and the daughters thought the world was at the end. So you know they labeled their father. They had two sons, Moab, and then the other daughter had one called Ammon. You know, Moab meaning from my father. You know, and Ammon. Of my people. So, but one of the things we look at it and say, okay, and I'm just want to bring this out, is that we say, oh, that was incestuous stuff, and incest don't become a problem until we got the law. And I must bring that out, because a lot of people look at them and say that's incest, but then look at Abraham, and then our great Moshe Rabbeinu, who father married his aunt, and yet he bringing a law now saying that is forbidden.
That is forbidden, right?
All right. So you know Moses didn't make up the law, because why would I bring a law down that I made up that condemns my whole lineage, my ancestry? So that though we will say that's incest and everything like that, and and all that stuff, that's dealing with the law that's given and written out then, as we got it now, the 613 laws, statutes, and judgments. Prior to that, that was not. That's why Abraham was talking about, we know sisters and brothers are forbidden by our law. But it wasn't forbidden for Abraham. And I know it's a tough thing to swallow, but we got to be more scholarly about, when we say certain things, and we say, oh, that was just incest, that was incest, and stuff like that. It became incest once the law prohibits it. Then it becomes a violation. So once we got that law, and Moshe Rabbeinu brought the law down from the supreme universe, then from that point on, Yehudah had kids by his daughter-in-law. Hence, we got the kingship coming through there. Dawid, his ancestry, Ruth is a Moabite. So his ancestry is through that particular area.
Right.
So I'm saying that we just focus on, they did it for one reason, and we just see it as one way. And I like to say, we got to see it according to what the law standard is going forward. At one time, the dietary law was, no, you eat anything but don't eat the blood. For us, you got to eat a certain way to be holy. Yet, in Noah's time, they say, tahor and lo tahor. You know what I mean? Here, it's tameh or tahor, unclean or pure. All right, so it made it more emphatic to avoid it. And we're given a reason to eat a certain way. We give a reason to live a certain way. So and I just want to focus on, as we're going forward and bring out these points, because I hear so much, and I figure I'd be doing an injustice if I don't, bring out those particular truths according to the standard that we all agree to, that the laws of God is what we live by. And when they come after, so when they say, Abraham, he teach his family, keep all the commandments of the Creator, you gotta say, and do after him all those that he know to do from that point on. From his point, from the time he living, all that the Creator revealed to him. Every particular law didn't apply to him, so we gotta take things within this context. We're going to 20th.
Chapter
20th chapter of Genesis.
Verse
Yes.
1. Genesis chapter
Yes.
20, verse 1, and it reads, And Abraham journeyed from thence towards the land of the south, and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur, and he sojourned in Gerar. And Abraham said to Sarai his wife, She is my sister. And Abimelech king of Gerar sent and took Sarai. But God came to Abimelech in a dream of the night, and said unto him, Behold, thou shalt die, because of the woman whom thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife. Now Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, Yehoah, wilt thou slay even a righteous nation? Said he not himself unto me, She is my sister? And she herself said, He is my brother. In the simplicity of my heart and in the innocency of my hands have I done this. And God said unto him in the dream, Yea, I know that in the simplicity of thy heart thou hast done this, and I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her. Now therefore restore the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou restore her not, know thou that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that are thine. And Abimelech.
Right there. We're gonna stop right there. We're gonna stop there right there. All right. That's all I'm gonna deal with in that particular chapter. I'm gonna elaborate the rest. All right. One of the things in this is that you always say, well, why did the Creator come to Abimelech and then go to Pharaoh? For the same reason. That Pharaoh took Sarah and brought him into his house. Abimelech took Sarah, and he was going to marry her. All right, one of the things, just to be brief, and show the contrast. Pharaoh took her because of her beauty. Now, if we look at any chronological age right now, it's in the 90s, still looking all right. She's still rejuvenated. But, when we look at that rejuvenation, Abimelech did his research. Abraham told Sarah to say to Pharaoh that she is his sister. Abimelech asked Abraham and asked Sarah. So he did his investigation first. So he married her because, hey, Abraham, you're all right. You're a famous guy. I mean, your kinfolk will be part of my kinfolk. I'm married to the family.
Right.
You know, so he taking it genuinely. And also another thing, he said, will you slay a righteous nation? It was never a dispute about whether this nation had certain morals, lived by a certain code of ethics. Abraham dwelling there. So
right.
they had to have some kind of morals. So he brings it down, you know what I mean? And the Creator said, I know the simplicity of your heart. He said, look, I didn't think nothing of it. I didn't think I was violating.
Right.
You know, she said it. He said it. So you ask both parties what the situation is. All right. And so you don't be too quick to move on it. You know, I kept you from violating.
I'm sinning.
And so
right.
he referred to Abraham as a prophet because it's, you know, touch not my anointing, do my prophets no harm.
Right.
That we read about later on. So this is the first time you read about a Nabi. And one that is a bringer of things. So now, if you don't bring back his wife, he can bring you some problems. That's a Nabi. You know, so, and a spokesperson, because Abraham didn't predict anything in the future.
Right.
He told his sons, maybe, you know, God showed him what could happen to his sons in the future, but he never read where he actually predicted anything in the future, you know, concerning, you know, the nation of Israel or his sons pretty much. All right, because even though he was referred to as a prophet in the press. So now, so one of the things is that Abimelech was on a different level than the Pharaoh. And Abimelech told him to stay in the land any way he wanted. Gave him so many servants, so many, cattle, and also gave him $1,000 pieces of silver. You know, that proved that, hey, look, this is my trespass against you for Sarah to show that I ain't mess with her.
Right.
I haven't touched her. And he gave it to Sarah, said, look here, let's keep this way. But he gave it to the husband. You know, she's the same way she was when, when she left you. I haven't did anything. So that's like a trespass. And that's and people that study ancient cultures on marriages and trespass and different laws of the people of the East in that particular time, that's normally how things would be done. So one of the things is that Pharaoh had escorted and sent Abraham out his land. When Abimelech asked what's going on, Pharaoh asked what he did. Pharaoh didn't even ask an explanation. Why you do this to me? He just scolded Abraham. In other words, I don't want to hear anything you got to say from this point on, because my house is getting jacked up. So you out. But Abimelech said, why you do me this? Why you do me like that? Why you treat me this way? What you saw. So now, being human, you cannot always prejudge an individual being human, because a great man as Abraham said, I thought God, it was no godliness in this place. But evidently, God communed to him and revealed to him what was going on that you didn't say. So, and the Creator still left it up to Abimelech, said, look, if you don't restore, I'm going to slay you and all your house and anything that belonged to you. But here, Pharaoh could not attest to the integrity of his people in Egypt. Abimelech can attest to his people's integrity. Said, we don't do stuff like that over here. In spite of what you might have seen passing around you, in spite of them guys that you might have rescued over there in Sodom and Gomorrah that you prayed for, we don't roll like that. And that's why they say, look, stay wherever you're at. And remember, those that bless you will be blessed. Those that curse, he that curse you will be cursed.
Right.
So if I keep a blessing in my neighborhood, I'm gonna be all right. Stay wherever you want around this neighborhood. Do whatever you want to do. Then later on, you make an alliance with Abraham. And they make an alliance with Abraham didn't mind making an alliance, but he said, look here, your people took away my well. And Abimelech said, I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything. I never heard anything about it. I'm only hearing about it today. And so Abraham, what he did, making atonement for a false accusation against Abimelech, making him think he knew about what was going on, and charging him being responsible for the act they thought he knew. So even Abraham, as great as he was, could be wrong in his judgment. And that's what some people refuse to see, how human our great ancestors were, and how well being human makes them even greater, that they had their faults, but they're able to overcome certain faults.
That's right.
So he made him, he gave Abimelech that, X amount of stuff, and then swore, and had 7 ewe lambs to say, this showing that I built this well. All right. So now we're going to the 20,
First.
Yeah, 21st. 21st.
We're in the book of Genesis chapter 21, starting from verse 1. Genesis 21:1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And Yehudah remembered Sarai as he had said, and Yehudah did unto Sarai as he had spoken. And Sarai conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarai bore to him, Yitzchak. And Abraham circumcised his son Yitzchak when he was 8 days old, as God had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Yitzchak was born unto him. And Sarai said, God has made laughter for me. Everyone that heareth will laugh on account of me. And she said, who would have said unto Abraham that Sarai should give children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age.
Okay, right there. So in other words, she had enough milk to even feed other people babies. That's how much of a bounty she had, and then that's how much the Creator restored her. Now, Yitzchak, last time I spoke about Lek Lakan, I used a gematria about 100, and say Abraham would be, for the letters, Lamed Kaf, for 100, which Abraham achieved his greatest thing when he had his son. And we know right now that he's 100 years old when Yitzchak is born. And his Sarah's 90. So Yitzchak, a name, Yitzchak being the first one that's actually circumcised on the 8th day, that we read about in the scripture, under this covenant, this new covenant that the Creator made with Abraham. His whole name, the gematria for his whole name, for Yitzchak, the Yod representing 10, the 10 explains everything concerning his life. The Yod representing 10, the 10 trials that his father Abraham had to go through, which is coming up. The last one's coming up within this particular sidra. The faith, itself. It's the Zadik itself. I'm not sure going on. The Zadik itself represent 90. The age his mother was actually, how old she was when he was born. And then you got Chait, which is 8, which is he's the first one that's actually circumcised on the 8th day. And the Kuf, or some people say Kuf, which is stands for 100. That's how old his father was when he was born. So every letter in his name represent a different aspect in his life. 10, 90, 8, 100. So every stage of it. All right. So when you think about Yitzchak in Hebrew, think about all the stuff that happened in his life, primal things. So now, as we get, we know that Abraham wound up casting Ishmael out in this particular chapter here, and because after Isaac, Yitzchak was waiting. So you figure about 3 years old in the East. Most children waited about 3. So that put Ishmael close to 17 at this particular time. Abraham was Ishmael was mocking, making fun of Isaac. Mesocrate, we use as playing, but it also means in a real unseemly manner. Just like when we rose up to play at the Baals, not Baal, the golden calf. So it could be an unseemly matter. We don't know what was, how he was making fun at him. But Sarah noticed that and then said, this bondswoman and her son would not inherit with my son. Get rid of her. So he brought Abraham again. First time Abraham put things in her lap. This time, it tells you that now what she said really grieved him because of the son. And we know that Ishmael's, a teenager. So now he done learned a lot of stuff from Abraham. And Abraham been doing a lot of stuff with this guy. So now you're gonna tell me to get rid of him. Now it was easy before, to get rid of her the first time when she was received. But now that this guy grew up on me, not only he grew up on me, he grew up, he grew on me as well. So the Creator intervened and said, talking to the voice of, his wife and do all, and she said, so he took it to the extreme because he called that, you think about handmaid, a beggar, so it's enough for bread and water. So now, send him off as a, pretty much, a vagabond out there with just bread and water, no transportation, no wagons, no servants. That's kind of hard. So you kind of wonder how they was when they grabbed Joseph up later on, centuries later. We got to say, who's the first one that mistreated an Egyptian? In that sense, because when Abraham went to Egypt, he told the king there that or had Sarah say that was his sister, and then he got jammed up. The Egyptians got jammed up. He wound up with this Egyptian handmaid. She got a little bit out of place, but Sarah treated her harshly because what? She was fruitful. What did the Pharaoh say centuries later? We must deal wisely with these people because they, our only crime was being fruitful and multiplying. So when you look at the way in certain situations that we might, measure for measure, sometimes we bring certain things that we don't see the consequence of certain actions centuries down the road. Because, Egypt got played because of, Sarah brought it up on there. Mother Sarah not only mistreated the Egyptians mistreated us after a while, because Hagar was welcome to the household. Then she was expelled from the household. We was welcomed into Egypt as VIPs, and later on we was expelled out of Egypt. So it's a lot of stuff, when I look at the scriptures and I see some certain correlations and how things could be like subversive and turn around. And you say, well, who did what first? And being honest, so we put them in the wilderness. So anyway, make a long story short, she went out there and the water was spent. Ishmael's at the point of die. She put him up under, a good way under a shrub, wherever she put him, and went a bow distance away. The far as you could shoot an arrow, that's how far away she walked. So, some people could, shoot an arrow, 100 yards easy, 200 yards if you got the right kind of bow and the right wind velocity. But she went a good ways off from the sun because she didn't want to see him die. And then it said, the angel heard the voice of the lad. All right, let me see the angel of the Creator. Let me just make sure that do a little reference here. One moment. If you're not, God had heard God heard the voice of the lad. All right. So the Creator had heard the voice of the lad, and so in other words, to open up the eyes, she got some water. Later on, she got a wife for her son Ishmael, which was an Egyptian, and to tell you where he dwelled at, at the end, to tell you he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, so that's not too far from really where Abraham is really from. So so we head into the next chapter, the last one, which is the 22nd chapter.
Chapter
22.
22. We're in the book of Genesis, chapter 22, verse 1. And it reads, "And it came to pass after the things that God did prove Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham, and he said, Here am I. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son, whom thou lovest, even Yitzchak, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him therefore a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of."
Okay, all right there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Firstly, thy son. All right. Which son?
Thine only son.
The only one of Hagar, the only one of Sarah.
You said thine only son.
That's what I'm with you. I'm with you.
Right.
So that's what, all right. The only one for Sarah or the only one for Hagar?
Mm-hmm.
Whom thou lovest. I love both of them. I just gave away and sent Ishmael up because he told me, but I love them both.
Mm-hmm.
Even Isaac. That means that he couldn't squirm. That's my point of trying to bring.
Mm-hmm.
The Creator, because he could have squirmed until the Creator actually named him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which son? The only one, because both of us are the only son from their moms.
Right.
You know, he loved both of them.
Right.
All right. You know, so therefore, when he named them, all right, now I know who you want, who you really want. So now after this, it goes up and says, you know, the third verse, and Abraham rose early in the morning and saddled his ass and took his young men with them, and Isaac his son, and he cleaved the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place of which God had told him. On the third day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar, all right, and said unto the young men, Abide ye with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder, and we will worship and come back to you. All right, now, some people try to say, it might be prophetic. Abraham said, we will come back and worship, come back. They don't say how Yitzchak's coming back, you know, whether it's going to be in the ashes or what. But one of the things is this here that I must focus on is that you traveling, and, you know, what this reminiscing to at the time, you know, it's at the land of Mount Moriah, all right? And in the land of Mount Moriah, so he had to go a 3 days journey.
Right.
You know, by the third day, you know, he actually see where I'm gonna offer up Yitzchak. Can you imagine? You got this on your mind for 3 days. So I'm gonna kill this boy.
Right.
And if we think of now, if in the chronological order, and you think the next book is a chronological order, Yitzchak basically is a grown man. Right. Because next week's Sidra is Sarah, you know, and she's 127. That would make him 37. So can you imagine that? You know, I mean, and you know, and Abraham is, you know, 100 years older than him. So you imagine him taking a 3-day journey somewhere off and knowing, I'm gonna have to kill this boy, this grown man. God is with me. And one of the things, just to make the story a little bit briefer, you know, because I know I've been on this for a moment. You know, I'm gonna skip on down when Yitzchak said, "Look, we got the wood, we got the fire, but where's the lamb?" And you know, and then Abraham said, "God will provide, you know, Himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son." All right, so now, and they came to a place which God had told him of, and Abraham built the altar there and laid the wood in order, all right, and bound Isaac his son and laid him on the altar upon the wood. All right, that means he tied him up. Now, one of the things that Isaac is very submissive in this case, and you know, when do you say honoring my father become a little bit too extreme? In this case, and I'm really supposed to honor your father and mother. So when do it become too extreme? Right. You know what I mean, and that's one of the cases, you know. And you say, well, some people say, well, is this the test for Abraham, or this is just got test, honoring his father and mother?
Right.
All right. And if he's honoring his father, what does his mother think about that?
Right.
Is she in agreement with it? You know, he left up early in the morning. Did I get a chance to kiss my mother farewell? Did I get a chance to say what was going to happen?
Right.
All right. So Abraham prayed for the wicked, but not for the innocent. Pray for people that, you know, he had vested interest in over there from a distance, which is Lot. And here's one I got vested interest here. That's the son of the covenant. That's that said the Creator said seed would be brought to him. And I don't question is I'm hearing this wrong. And then also, and one of the things I bring out here, because you know in the chapter, you know, right here, the Sidra here, is that we notice that an angel called forth from heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham, you know, and it said, do not harm or touch the land. Matter of fact, I can read that verse there. That's the verse we'll finish up with. 11th verse.
Verse 11, you want me to read it?
Yeah, 22:11.
Chapter 22, verse 11, it reads, and the angel of Yahweh called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham, and he said, here am I. And he said, lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him, for now I know that thou art a God-fearing man, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me.
Okay, right there. All right. There's an angel speaking on behalf of the Creator. Now, there's two important things I have to bring out before bring this thing to an end. It's one of the things, say, don't lay your hand on the lad, and neither do any harm unto him. Those things say, well, okay, you know, it's striking. It's been good enough to say don't harm him. It's been good enough to say don't touch him. But say don't lay your hands on him. And any fashion of form, and definitely don't inflict injury on him. Because you can whip a person, grab a person a certain way where you don't really inflict injury on them, you know, but you can cause them some pain. But then it said, I don't want you even causing no physical injury at all, or pain, anguish. So the thing is that who should have had the anguish? Who should have figured about not laying hands on somebody? You know, who cried out just earlier about some years back about saving a city,
right,
a wicked people. All right. So much so that this is the last time we read in scriptures where the Creator ever speaks to Abraham. And he didn't speak to him there. He sent the angel. When you judge the Creator of heaven and earth, and said, will not the judge of the whole earth do justly?
right.
And yet you plead, but now you more in service of God than to plead on the behalf of one of God's creatures. That's a serious thing. So he passed the test of obeying God, but he failed the test of being humane to every human being.
Good point.
You know, so those things we must consider as we move forward in this area. You know, and we're going to the next Sidra for next week. But like I said, I hope I did some kind of justice to elaborating on this in particular Sidra, which is Wayera, which is pretty long, and any mistakes been my own, and I hope that anybody that listens to the sound of my voice get some insights to consider, because like I said, I'm never here to change your minds. I'm here to bring out other viewpoints, not to change your point of view. And with that, I'd say Shalom Aleichem and early Shabbat to everybody out there. And thank you also for the hosting.
Shalom Aleichem, and early Shabbat Shalom to everyone. And I don't know if you heard about Adonai Benjamin.
Yeah, I did. I got
Right.
I talked to a couple.
So to the family of Ari Benjamin, Adonai, that our condolences go out to his family for their loss, and may the Most High God make his name to be a blessing on the earth. May the Most High God bless his memory.
And may the Creator comfort you with all other mourners in Zion. Amen.
Amen. All right, Torah, Nasik, may the Most High God be with you. And Torah once again.
Be safe. All right, be safe.
Shalom.